NFL season has officially kicked off while collegiate sports are now in full swing. Meanwhile, the MLB features a tight race in the league standings as it gets ready for an exciting postseason. And finally, the Longhorns reach second in the AP poll for the first time since 2009. All this and so much more right here because it is September and we are so back on the one and only College Crossfire. Good evening to all our viewers tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsoulin, and we have a great show in store for you. Before meeting our contestants, I want to share that today's show is brought to you by Cap Metro, Austin's transit system. We connect you to work, school, play, and everywhere in between. Plan your ride to this weekend's game at capmetro.org. All right, let's get right into it now. For the first time this year, we're ready to introduce tonight's contestants. So without further ado, here we go. On first base, we have the man out of California. He just spent a whole weekend in Ann Arbor witnessing the Longhorns' first-hand domination over Michigan. It's Zach Davis. Zach, how are you doing tonight?
Robert, what a great introduction, and thank you. I'm glad to be here. It was a great weekend, had a great time, great win for the Longhorns. I'm wearing my TSTV gear today. I obviously came to play, and I'm here to win.
Always got to rep and support. Up next, it's one of our very own Texas soccer reporters and producers. She's going to have a blast covering that team this year. It's Kendell Ungar. Kendall, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
I'm just super excited to be here, and Crossfire's back. It was one of my favorite shows we did, so getting ready to get back into it.
So am I. And rounding it out, we have a legend of this show who is no stranger to debating sports. He'll hit you with takes you're not ready to defend. Last year's Crossfire executive producer, Justin Goosman. Justin, how's it going?
Oh, man, it's really great to be back on air. Spent last year all in the back room. My girlfriend asked if I was ready for tonight's show, and I got to say, I only have concepts of a plan.
Concepts of a plan. Well, let's see how that rounds out in the next 3 blocks. But before we get started, let's review the game's rules in case you've never tuned in before. There will be 3 rounds with each round containing 3 questions, and points will be given to who I believe has the best answer with 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points. But we can't forget that the third round of the show, y'all don't know the questions. Y'all know the questions to the first 2 blocks. Like I said, they know what they're going to say. They have an idea. But meaning the best answer in the third round is double points. 6 points for the best answer, 4 points for the second best, and so on and so forth. In the event that there is a tie by the end of the third round, there will be a bonus question to see who is crowned champion. Also, in this rapid fire round, is what we like to call it, the contestants have not been able to see or prepare their own preparation for this exact block. But with that being said, let's get right into it. So let's crank the heat up and let's get started for a great year. Starting it off, on Saturday, the number 3 ranked Texas Longhorns defeated number 10 ranked Michigan 31-12 in the Big House. Not only did Texas take down the reigning national champions, but they also handed them their first loss in 2 seasons and their first home loss since 2020. Was the result of this game a product of Texas being very good, or is Michigan just really bad, and why?
That's a great question, Robert. Well, you know, seeing it firsthand, it was an incredible experience to watch the Longhorns take down Michigan. My friends who are juniors over there have never seen a home loss. So to be able to witness that, watch my school wearing those colors win, it was very impressive. Now, with that being said, that win does not reflect and should not reflect the Texas Longhorns' future endeavors. They are a team that is strong, and Michigan is a team that is weak. They lost all 5 Michigan offensive linemen are now on NFL rosters. J.J. McCarthy, top 5 pick. They have a new quarterback, Davis Warren. You saw it on the field. He does not have the capabilities to win a big football game. The receivers, between him and the receivers, it was not clean. This does not reflect that the Longhorns should not get ahead of themselves and say, we're a great team, we took down a top 10 opponent. We are in week 3. We are far from SEC play, and the Longhorns should not get complacent.
There, you said it right there. Michigan lost a ton of players in the draft this past year, including their head coach, Jim Harbaugh, who is off at the Chargers now. So they've only played 2 games into the season, struggling against Fresno State in that first one. They definitely lost a lot of firepower, so there's definitely a lot of games left to play. But Kendall, how about you?
Yeah, like you said, Michigan is in a total rebuild year. You can't really look at the competition like they were as the national champions last year. But you do have to give some credit to the Longhorns. You know, playing in Michigan Stadium is unreal. Like the loudness, you probably heard it firsthand like that. It's just insane that they are also hungry for the win. You know, last year no one expected them to get as far as they did, and look what happened. And now they want to get back to that and do even more. But I'm going to focus in on the trio of wide receivers that Sark brought in. Look at Golden, Bolden, and Bond. They are an unreal trio, and it's just they're making a difference. And I don't think Texas will get ahead of themselves. I just think they dominated that game, and it's like, who's going to be their competition? Like, I think they have full swing ahead of things, and if they play that trio, if Quinn Ewers plays like he is, I think we're going to be just fine, and they have a lot to build on, but it was a great start.
Yeah, some really good points right there, because like Michigan having new players, Texas also brings that same type of newness to the table too. But Texas, when you compare the new players who are starting against Michigan's, Texas dominated, and so maybe just having new players that Texas has an excuse. They're really good. Goose?
Yeah, Texas is that good. And this isn't biased, but this is just analyzing the game and looking at the way the offensive line played. This is a Texas offense that has lost a couple running backs already for either the full season or for a duration of the season, and their rushing attack looked really solid. Quinn Ewers was able to escape the pocket in the limited circumstances when he was under pressure and make throws under duress. I thought that in every single aspect of this game, Texas dominated. This is a Wink Martindale-led defense. Wink Martindale, who has been a defensive coordinator in the NFL, he's been a defensive coordinator in college. He's seen it all in terms of the football landscape, and Texas was able to dominate him on almost all fronts. 3rd and long, they completed on those first drives. Throughout the game, 3rd downs, those conversions were huge. And like Kendall said, in an environment like Michigan, this shows how poised Texas is, how comfortable and how confident they are. Even if Michigan isn't that good, the way they played tells me that Texas is simply that good.
Great answers all around the board there, Justin. I like what you said, how they just looked poised. They looked calm, ready, and relaxed. How many times were there 3rd and 7+ situations, and I didn't have to get worried at all because I felt like Quinn was running out of the pocket effortlessly, making plays right there. I like what y'all said about new players on both teams, yet Michigan not being able to hold up to that standard. Goose, I'm going to give you the 3 on this. Zach, I give you the 2 just because you talked about the lack of talent in the new players. And then Kendall, I like what you said with the new trio of Golden, Bolden, and Bond. But all on the board there, Goose the 3, Zach the 2, and Kendall the 1. Moving on right now, the reigning 2-time national championship Texas volleyball team is already off to an even 500 start through the first 4 games of the season. After starting exactly the same way last year, the Longhorns proceeded to only lose to 2 more games and go all the way. However, now that they're in a new conference, how do you think their success will pan out, and should they begin to worry? Kendall started off.
Yeah, well, look, you said it yourself. They started the same way last season. Everyone starts to freak out, oh no, they're starting 2-2. What do we do? Like, what's happening? But I think they're just fine. You have to look at, there's new starters to the team. It's obviously going to be a transition, learning how to play together, knowing the new steps, learning the Texas standard. But you also have to give it to the head coach. You know, he's been there this is his 24th season as being the head coach. He knows what he's doing. He's recruited these players. It just takes time to get there, and I think the Texas volleyball team can get exactly where they were, being the back-to-back national champions, if they just put in the work and realize that it's not going to be smooth sailing. You're going to have bumps in the road.
Exactly right. New conference, what changes? Just because you're going to be matched up with new teams and you played new teams in the very beginning of the season, why change the formula? Goose?
Is Jared Elliott still the head coach? Is Madison Skinner still on the team? Yeah, this team's going to be just fine. And you look at last year, they lost 1-3 to Long Beach State in their first game of the season. They lost 0-3 to Stanford in just a couple of games later. This team last year was in the same exact position, if not worse, when you look at the way those games panned out. This year, they haven't lost any of their games 1-3, 0-3. They've won 2 sets in every single game this season. I'm not worried whatsoever. Like Kendall said, there are going to be bumps in the road, and I think it's better that Texas gets tested early before they head into conference play, before they get into the tournament. The SEC is not the Big Ten. It's not the elite volleyball conference. Yes, Tennessee is really good. Arkansas is still good. Kentucky's still good. But this is a conference that only had one team in the Elite Eight last season. I think Texas is going to be just fine. They're going to figure it out. It's better that they're battle-tested heading into conference play than undefeated with all of the pressure in the world on them heading into the tournament.
If anything, their schedule gets a little bit easier. As you know, like you said, the SEC is not the powerhouse conference in NCAA volleyball. Zach, round it out for us.
Well, I'm going to agree with a lot with Robert and Kendell said, where, yeah, it's not time to panic. It's not time to say, oh, no. But at the same time, they are 2-2. The expectation was not to start 2-2. And, yes, they only lost 2 more games throughout the rest of last year. But they have already lost 2 games, and who knows what's going to happen this year. You can't bank on those 2 losses, just having 2 more losses. Look, we haven't mentioned it yet. They beat Wisconsin, number 3rd team in the country, opening game. This team has the capabilities. Yes, they slid against Miami at home, and yes, they lost another game against Minnesota. So I don't think it's time to panic. It's early. They're trying to they're not rebuilding, but they're trying to get back into rhythm. They have over 30 games to play, and there's a lot to prove. But I do think you're not hitting the panic button, but the eyes have widened than when the season began.
I think a common theme here was, it's just so early in the season, and development needs to take place in order for this team to hit their groove. But Kendell, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. You're going to a new conference, but you recruit the same players. You play, if anything, easier teams, but you don't change the formula. I'm going to have to give you the 3 on this one. Goose, you talked about the same points there. Madison Skinner, Jarrett Elliott still on the team, and you're playing easier teams, like you said, in the SEC. They're not the powerhouse. I don't think it's really time to panic right now. You'll get the 2. And, Zach, I just think that, this team going in, they just need to develop. They're playing easier teams. We'll give you the 1 on that one. But great answers all around the board right here. And now let's kick it off into the NFL season. So it commenced this past week, and many teams took the field with a new-look offense. While some of these teams found success, there were still many quarterback concerns across the entire league. Which team with a new quarterback should be the most comfortable with their new leader under center, and why? This does not have to be a rookie, but it can be. Goose, start this one off.
I got to go with the guy that took down my team in his home state. It's Justin Fields, and it's Justin Fields pretty easily. Yeah, they didn't score a touchdown, but that's not really my concern. He looked comfortable and confident the entire game, throwing it deep down the field to George Pickens against a defense with 2 of the best safeties in all of football, Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons, a team that is much improved on the defensive end as well. Threw for 180 passing yards. It's nothing crazy. He ran for 57 yards. Again, they didn't get into the end zone, but that offense still looked incredibly confident. They looked better than they were a year ago. It's all just going to come down to, can they execute a little later on in the season in the red zone? And I think they will. It's his first week back in a new Arthur Smith-led offense, and he wasn't even expected to start until 3 or 4 days before the season began. So that's an incredibly impressive performance from Justin Fields, and I think the Steelers looked really confident in week 1.
An amazing turnaround right there. You're told you're starting for a professional football league team a couple days before, and you turn it around and you get the win. I am a big Justin Fields supporter. I was always with him on the Bears, riding on his bandwagon. Shout out Tommy Yarish. Shout out Justin Goosman. I did think Justin Fields was the guy instead of Caleb Williams, but we'll see how that pans out. Anyways, Zach, get us going.
I'm going to have to go to New England with a new Jared Mayo offense, no Bill Belichick, new rhythm, new bash, and we have Jacoby Brissett making his debut for the Patriots, coming in with a third overall pick right behind him. I know Jacoby Brissett, very humble man, said he cried 3 times before the game. Look, this is a make or break season for Brissett. He knows it's his last game, or his last year, to prove himself as a starter in the NFL. And do you know what he does? He goes out and proves it. He beats the Bengals, who 16-10, who were expecting to win. The Patriots were supposed to be a bottom 3 team in the NFL, and they are now 1-0. And they are competing in a competitive conference, and the season is long. But as far as expectations go, as far as an upset goes, I can't say it's an upset to beat the Atlanta Falcons. Sorry, Goose. But I can say the Patriots beating the Bengals is an impressive win, especially for a guy trying to prove himself in his last chance.
Most definitely. And, you know, someone who you said cried 3 times before the game, how long has that man been trying to get his shot in the NFL? I remember he torched my Texans about 7 years ago on Thursday Night Football when he was a third-string quarterback. Same team, but, you know how it goes for Houston teams. Not always the most of success. Right now, it's looking up, but in terms of Jacoby Brissett, he has our numbers. Kendall?
Yeah, so I did take this as a rookie kind of question, and being from Nashville and knowing the Titans well, nothing made me happier than seeing Will Levis lose. So I'm going to have to go with Caleb Williams. I know it wasn't his best statistics game, but you have to look at that a Bears quarterback, a rookie quarterback, hasn't won since 1950. To come in and win as a rookie is very unheard of in the NFL. So I just think, yes, it wasn't his best game, but you have to look at it like, hey, a win's a win, and you can learn from it, and he knows he has to learn from it, but I just think he was the only rookie who's starting who won. So
Very right there. I mean, Kendall, Caleb Williams is a player I think Caleb Williams may be the first rookie I've seen get the most hype in terms of new rookie quarterbacks joining their team. And yes, they struggled a little bit in terms of scoring in the red zone on Sunday, but they did get the win, and Will Levis kind of gave them the gimme, but I still believe in the hype around Caleb Williams. I know I just said Justin Fields was the guy, but I do think Caleb Williams is a good fit for this team, especially with the new receiver, Rome Odunze. For that reason, I'm going to give you the 3. Justin, I have to go with the 2 because even though I'm a big Justin Fields supporter, they didn't score a touchdown once all game. Chris Boswell, kicker out of Rice University, go Owls, scored all their points over the weekend. And, they still got to deal with that red zone problem. I can't imagine Russell Wilson when he's fully healthy, there's going to be talks again about, okay, should Russell Wilson start now? Jacoby Brissett, even though he torched my team years ago, he's been learning that offense for a long, long time. I just don't know how stable it is until the Drake May question comes up, and when is it time for him to get under center? For that reason, Kendall, you get the 3, Justin, you get the 2, Zach, you get the 1. Great answers all around, though, as that marks the end of our first round, but we've got plenty more to come. Don't go anywhere because College Crossfire returns in just a quick sec. Well, we've already got our feet wet with Texas sports and pro football, so now it's time to shift gears as we are just weeks away from our 2024 MLB postseason. But before we get into that specific question, let me just read off the scores real quick. Kendall and Goose, y'all are locked in at 7 right now. Zach, y'all have 4. This is still anyone's game. It is a very close matchup. We've got the majority of the show still left to go, but let's get into the MLB now. There's still many games needed to be played in a very even race right now that will decide the final playoff picture. So, who is the team that you see winning it all? Goose, kick it off.
I gotta go with the Phillies, and they've been the most consistent team all season long. You can boo me all you want. They've been the most consistent team all season long. They've been the best team in the MLB over the last 25 games. When you look at their record, they have the 5th best team ERA in the entire league. I mean, they got sluggers. They got Bryce Harper. They got Kyle Schwarber, who's homered 7 times in the last 10 games. And then you got Nick Castellanos, who, as you enter election season, I mean, things are going to be happening in the world. And Nick Castellanos is prepared for anything that happens. If you bet the over today on Nick Castellanos home runs, you hit that. And as we approach election season, Nick Castellanos is getting ready for a heck of a season and postseason as well. So I got to go with the Phillies.
It was just about under 3 hours ago when my roommate showed me that meme for the first time. Or not meme, but sort of trend
Legend?
that Nick Castellanos hits home runs on probably the most controversial days of a controversial event. But I mean, yeah, he hit a home run today. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. You know, Phillies, they're heating up right now. Kendall?
Okay, so baseball, especially the MLB, is not exactly my strong suit, but I did my homework, I did my research, and this guy, Shohan Ohtani, of the Dodgers, wouldn't stop coming up. Like, everyone's talking about him. The news is buzzing about him. I just think he is the real deal, but that way, and I think the Dodgers have a very good player in him, and he's going to break records this year. You know, he's already gotten the 40 for 40, and now he's going for the 50 for 50, so, you know, you got to give it to him, and that's why I'm going to go Dodgers.
Lots of talented players on the Dodgers right there, even with so many injuries. Shohei Ohtani, Clayton Kershaw is back, Freddie Freeman. They have so much firepower. You can't ignore them. But Zach, round it out.
It sometimes sucks to go third on this show because when you do your research, I did mine and I chose the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have 86 wins, and you don't even look at their 86 wins total. You look at what they're doing now. They are 19-8 in August. They have a winning record so far in September. They have 6 guys hitting over 265 that play a majority of the year. So this team has talent. They have pitchers. Mookie Betts, he was hurt for the past 2 months, came back, and now is killing it. He's this month's MVP. Shohei, he's the best player in baseball. He's an MVP favorite. You know, this team has talent. They've also, I want to mention, they've kept somewhat of a similar roster they have in the past 3 years, and those 2 teams that have lost in 22 and in 23, they were first-round exits. They skipped the wild card, went right to the divisional, and then lost. So this team has hunger, they have power, and they want to win. So I think the Los Angeles Dodgers are the team to beat come October.
Well said right there. You know, the Dodgers, like I said, so much firepower on that team, and not only do they have an amazing pitching staff, even when they're like half injured, they're still great. But you also talk about their batting average and the whole lineup and how there's just so much firepower right there. I have to give you the 3 on that one. I just think the Dodgers are the way to go. So many talented players on that team. Even when half the team is hurt, they still look like the best team in the league. Kendall will give you the 2 on that one. And then Justin, I think the Phillies are very hot. I just don't think it's going to be that team. But I will give you the 1 on right there. So moving on now, we're going to get back into a little bit of football. I would really love to hear y'all's answers on this one. So last Thursday night, the Chiefs beat the Ravens in the first NFL regular season game after a heartbreaking out-of-bounds call overturned Isaiah Likely's touchdown catch. And after the game, the Ravens talked as if they were still a better team than the Chiefs in their own press conferences. Did this final play really determine the better of 2 even teams, or were the Ravens actually right and they're actually better and they failed to capitalize on those big moments? Kendall, start it off.
I do not think the Ravens had a better game. You know, they kept saying, oh, we did this, we did this. But the truth is, to win a game, you need to have those big moments, and the Chiefs got all those big moments. But what I'm going to focus in on is not only were the Ravens trailing the entire game, but since we go to Texas, I'm going to look at the Mahomes-Worthy duo going on, and I think that was Worthy's first game, and just the way that duo is going to be so dominant, it's going to be so easy for the Chiefs, and obviously they're coming in back-to-back Super Bowl champions. They're going for the 3rd, and I just think the Chiefs overall better, and they just started off the game and just consistently did that. So yes, the Ravens can say what they want about that last play, but a game just doesn't go down to the final play. It's an entire 4 quarters.
For sure, you know, and like you said, it's not all about one team being better than the other. You know, you definitely saw the Chiefs on their offensive side. Mahomes and Worthy, it was definitely cool seeing the former Longhorn get in the end zone twice. But yeah, lots of talented players. Zach?
Well, it's hard to come on here and call the reigning champions a team that should have lost in the opening debut. They played great. The Ravens also played great. Now, the thing is, the Ravens did have a longer time of possession, but with that, I don't call that a reason why they should have won. I call that like a reason why they should have lost. They had opportunity and they didn't take it. They went 1 for 4 in the red zone with getting 6 points. They had 65 yards of penalties, which was, I believe, 20 more than the Chiefs had. And yes, football is a game of inches. Isaiah Likely's foot was barely out of bounds, and it's a terrible way to go out week 1. But I think just for the general future, both these teams have great rosters set. Both defenses looked good. Quarterbacks, 2 of the best in all of football. And the future's bright for both teams. But to come on here and say that the Ravens should have won, don't think you can.
Definitely, I mean, true right there. You can't discredit like how good the Chiefs were, like you said. And you know, in my opinion, I do feel like time of possession, when you look at that stat, if you have the ball longer, I definitely think that it's a strength. But if you have the ball longer and you're losing, that definitely says bad things about your team and like how you can't score as much. But I mean, Justin, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to say that the Ravens are better, but they definitely should have won that game, and I can see why people would think the Ravens are better, and I can absolutely see why the team thought they were better. Like Zach said, they had a longer time of possession. For the Ravens, when they have a longer time of possession, that almost always equates to wins. In the second half, they did not run the ball with Derrick Henry enough. The first half, he was dominant. Every single time they got the ball, they should have been running it down the Chiefs' throats. But at the end of the day, there are so many games in football that do come down to one play. Julian Edelman in the Super Bowl versus my Atlanta Falcons. Eli Manning and the helmet catch in the Super Bowl versus the New England Patriots. If those plays don't happen, those teams don't win games. And in both of those games, you could say that the Falcons and the Patriots were the better teams that executed throughout the game at a higher clip. If Isaiah Likely's foot comes down and they score, the reality is the Ravens are going for 2 and they have a chance to win that game. So I don't think it's nearly as far off as these two. I do think the Ravens were squarely in this game and could have easily won.
Definitely right there. Talking about close games, you know that Patriots-Falcons game to heart, do you?
Back of my hand, man. Back of my hand.
We've all been there. He's an Atlanta fan for those who don't know, so it's been rough. But hey, I'm from.
Thanks for that.
Hey, Game 5 of 2018 Western Conference Finals. I've been there too. But I do think that, you know, time of possession was a huge factor in the game. I just think that even though both teams were so even, I don't think the Ravens were a better team. And I think that them having so much time on the clock and not being able to score more definitely shows how much better the Chiefs were. Zach, I have to give you the 3. I like what you said about time of possession in close games. You're going to get the 2, Justin. Kendell rounded out with the 1. But with that being said, there are only 2 weeks left into the college football season. We are already seeing players rise and fall with their display on the field. So who is your early season Heisman winner prediction and why? Zach, kick it off.
We can see it on the screen right there, and I'm happy I'm going first because how can you not say Quinn Ewers is the Heisman? If the season ended now, I think we all could comfortably say Quinn Ewers is your Heisman winner. He is playing perfect football. I mean, you see it in the locker room. He has a calm demeanor. He does not overthink things like we've seen in the past. He hasn't been injured in a really long time, and he is playing really good football. He played well against Michigan, killed against Colorado State. And now I'm actually going to throw another name out there because I would love to see this guy win Heisman as well, and it's the Boise State running back, Ashton Jeanty. Unfortunately, I might have taken their answer, but I want to talk about this guy because I am obsessed. 9 touchdowns, 465 yards thus far this season. How can you not give the guy the Heisman as well? The point, what I'm trying to say, is if the season ended now, Quinn Ewers, but down the road, Ashton Jeanty.
This man's having the entire cake.
I mean, yeah. I guess the question was favorite, but we'll go favorite. Yeah, Ashton Jeanty was my pick. Like Zach said, 460 yards and 10 touchdowns, averaging over 10 yards a carry, and almost single-handedly carrying Boise State to a win over Oregon. The reality is they're going to win a lot of games in the Mountain West Conference this season, and Quinn Ewers also has a chance to win a lot of games. At the end of the day, the Heisman race comes down to who's won the most games and who has the best stats. And in my opinion, Gene T and Ewers are going to have similar amounts of wins, and Gene T is going to have better stats in the end. Again, 460 yards and 10 touchdowns is simply ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. I don't recall ever seeing anything like it in the first 2 games of a season in the past. So I got to go with the running back from Boise State. Zach, thanks for taking both of the answers there.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'll hand it off to Kendell.
Yeah, Kendell, end it off for us.
Yeah, I kind of just looked at it as a quarterback standing. Like, Heisman's usually a quarterback, and obviously I knew Zach was going to choose Ewers. But I'm going to go to Miami with Cam Ward. You know, when's the last time Miami kind of started off 2-0? When's the last time Miami was in the top 25? You have to look at what he's doing, and this was his 2nd consecutive game doing 300-plus passing yards, and I just think, yeah, everyone's saying, well, Miami hasn't played a ranked team yet, but they will. In October, they play Louisville. They're going to have those games, and I just think if he keeps playing with, like, the perfection he's forming, I think he can definitely be a contender. He's a transfer. He has other experience from schools, but he's brought those stats everywhere he's gone, so I think he has a real shot if he keeps playing like he does.
Personally, the way I see it every year in college football is the Heisman race is, to me, is how fast can you get ahead of everyone else early on in the season to stand out as a leading candidate. And so far, I said, like Goose, you mentioned, Ashton Jeanty, he's going to have the similar stats as Quinn Ewers, but he's going to get out. I think he's going to get out the blocks faster. You know, his stats are insane right now with rushing yards and touchdowns. I personally think it's going to be him. You're going to get the 3. As much as I love Quinn Ewers and I hope he takes us to a national championship, but I just think Cam Ward is going faster out the gate right now. I want Quinn as my quarterback right now. Don't change the formula, but I do think that Cam Ward is a little bit more explosive right now and showing that, Kendell, you're going to get the 2. And Zach, Quinn Ewers, great answer. I'm happy with him as our quarterback. Don't change anything on the offense, but I think it's just going to go 3, 2, and then you'll get the 1. That's going to wrap it up for our second block tonight. We've got rapid fire coming up, so do not go anywhere. It's double the points next round. It's going to get hot. So stay with us. You will not want to miss anything. Welcome back into College Crossfire. We have a tight game right now. We have Goose leading it off with 13, Kendell with 12, and Zach with 11. It is still anyone's game as we begin our 3rd and final round, rapid fire. Double the points, double the pressure. It's about to get hot. Let's get into our first question with that being said. On Saturday, unranked Northern Illinois beat number 5 ranked Notre Dame in what was the greatest upset in NIU's football program history. Many people are curious whether this could be a team that mimics their 2013 successful run with Jordan Lynch. So, with that being said, which college or professional sports team has had the most iconic Cinderella run of success in your memory? Any sport, college or pro, most iconic Cinderella run?
That's really tough. Y'all got any ideas?
Robert, you got the mic.
Hey, I'll go ahead and take it off. I'll go with George Mason. Back in the day in the NCAA tournament, going all the way to the Final Four. That entire run, I don't even remember it as a kid, but I remember everyone talking about it. And I remember going back and watching it myself, seeing the magic of March Madness is always electric. But that team, everything just lined up perfectly for them. One of the first teams to ever make it that far, ranked as low as they were. Jim Larinaga leading that team all the way to the Final Four, and then following that up with just a legendary coaching career. I mean, that team was special, and I got to go with George Mason.
You cannot ever complain about the beauty of March Madness. You know, there's always going to be that one team that makes it through a couple of rounds, but when they make it to the Final Four, it's even better.
I'll go ahead and talk about the 2019 Nationals World Series Championship. I mean, talk about a season. We go into let's rewind to the off season. All right, the Nationals lost a franchise player in Bryce Harper. They had 100 wins 2018, 2017, and were first round exits. 1 year was against the Astros, and it was brutal. Now you come into the next year and you have a whole new system. Juan Soto's coming up, and you have guys that have been there for a while. Jordan Zimmerman on their last years. This was the last window for the Nationals to prove themselves, and they didn't really do that until October. They didn't really do that until September and in the end of August. They were not in the playoff spot until then. They got hot in September, and they rolled on into October. They had a heck of a series against the Dodgers. Game 7, Anthony Rendon walked it off in the 9th inning. World Series against the Astros. They won every road game to take it home in 7. It was a heck of a run, and it was the Nationals' first and only pennant.
I remember that series very well.
Yeah, you do.
I remember that one very well. I least get 2 rings still. It's all right. It's all right. But Kendall?
Those were both great answers, so I'm just going to have some fun with it because I don't really know. But I'm going to go back to Tom Brady's last Super Bowl win. I'm a long-term Patriots fan, season ticket holder, and I'm going to talk about when everyone thought he was done, he was old, blah, 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 and he won with the Patriots against the Rams, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
That was definitely a very cool year that they won. You know, think of his receiving core that game: Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. It was definitely cool to see him, you know, put it all together and do that in one of his final seasons. With that being said, though, I mean, it does hurt for the Astros, but the Nationals weren't expected at all to win that year. You're going to get the 6 on this one. Justin, you will get the 4. Kendall, I'm going to give you the 2. So, this past August, the Summer Olympics brought about the best athletes in the world. We saw the return of beloved events to the games and even some new ones, including breakdancing. The iconic breaker Ray Gunn was ranked #1 in the entire world this week, even after she scored 0 points in her Olympic performance. Which event or sport needs to be added to the Olympics that you think you would be ranked worldwide in?
Okay, so I'm originally from the North, Jersey girl, and field hockey was my favorite sport. I would say I was pretty good at it, so I think it should be an Olympic sport. You know, a lot of men in Europe play it. They're all really good, and I think it would get a lot of attention. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I started a field hockey club there, and so many people wanted to play it, so I just think if field hockey was added, it would be a lot of fun. It's a fun sport. It's like a mix of soccer, and then you have obviously hockey on the field, but it's a fun sport. I would add it.
Definitely a super fun and exciting sport to watch whenever like it's on TV or whenever you can kind of go out to like a local high school and see it for sure. Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, that's definitely a sport that I would tune into if I could, you know, hopefully if it does go to the Olympics, or if it's, I don't know if it's there yet, but hopefully if it's there, you know, it gets some primetime windows. Anyone else?
Well, you mentioned a sport that I personally, or they personally, would be one of the best in. And for me, that is suffering through Washington sports. I think if you put a lot of people through every single Commanders games and Wizards games and Nationals games, a lot would drop out of the race. So for me, the fact that I'm still here, the fact that I'm still standing, I think that is something to show. I think that proves loyalty. And I think a lot of people, if you made watching Washington sports an Olympic sport, I would be one of the best at it.
Labor of love.
You know, if scrolling through college football TikToks was an Olympic sport, I think I'd be ranked worldwide in that too. Goose?
All right, bear with me. We need to add day drinking and washers to the Olympics because I would be in the Hall of Fame. It would be over as soon as I stepped onto whatever playing surface we were on. Absolutely cooked. I can pitch washers like nobody has ever seen. You put me out there, like I said, it's over. I'm ranked #1 worldwide. You get a Michelob in me, it's even more over.
I love the creativity all around there. I will say, Kendall, I think field hockey is an Olympic sport already.
It is?
Yeah.
I think it is an Olympic sport already.
For U.S.?
I think the U.S. lost to Britain this year in field hockey.
Clearly, I don't know. Okay.
But great answers all around. I will say, I got to give this one to Goose with washers. Is just, you know, there is some athletic ability you can brag about in that one.
Curling's in the Olympics, washers can be too.
With that being said, you know, I will give this one to Goose. Kendall, you're gonna get the just for coming up with a pure athletic answer.
It's already a sport. I made a sport.
So,
It's okay.
let's make may as well make, you know, Call of Duty an Olympic sport, you know, if we're gonna do that. Kendall, you'll get the 4. Zach, you'll get the 2 on this one. Rounding it out on this one, recently LeBron James signed a 2-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers, extending his time on the team and making the chances of making a dream team up with Steph Curry far less likely, as the two are nearing the ends of their career, more so for LeBron. Which dream team up in any sport across any generation would you love to see in sports, and why? A dream team up. You can pick 2 players from any generation, any sport, college or pro.
I'm going to go with Tom Brady and LeBron Raymond James. You put LeBron in the NFL, and it is so over. There is not a single player in the NFL that could guard LeBron James if you line him up at tight end. We all talk about Kyle Pitts being generational. LeBron James would make him look like a child out there on the field. LeBron James at tight end would do things that would be considered war crimes. You understand me? If those two were teamed up, like, I don't think anyone is ever beating them. It's just not happening.
Wasn't he like an all-state receiver at St. Vincent St. Mary's back in high school?
Think about playing in the NFL in the lockout season.
That is wild to me. An amazing athlete.
Okay, I'm going to go the female route. I'm going to go with Simone Biles and Alex Morgan. They're both dominant GOAT players in their sports. They've done so many things. They've broken records. Simone hasn't announced retiring yet, but Alex just did, and the love she's getting just shows everything that she stood for and how good of a player she was. So I think if you just got the 2 of them together, their skill sets could be something. It could be fun to watch, and I just think as 2 dominant female athletes, it would be fun to watch.
Zach, end it off.
It's a tough question. I'm thinking as far as entertainment purposes go, if you combined Meta World Peace before he was Meta World Peace and Dylan Brooks together, I think that would be a game. It would be whatever team they played for in the NBA would be sold out crowds, and it would not be for the right reasons. But I think having those 2 hotheads together would have provided a lot of entertainment for the NBA. And if you threw them back, not in this generation, but if you put Dylan Brooks and Meta World Peace back in the 80s and the 90s, I think some crazy stuff might have happened.
I would definitely pay to see that type of entertainment for sure. You know, I mean, Dylan Brooks, I think he's still in the young stages of his career, but he's definitely, you know, I love the trash talk with or, you know, just being a chirper at LeBron in the Olympics is definitely entertaining to watch. But that is going to round it out as we calculate the scores. And this one is going to go to our very own Justin Goosman. Great answers all around, but do we have time for FaceTime? We do. Justin, some words?
Hey man, everyone here today brought the boom. I cannot complain at all about the first episode of College Crossfire. Shout out to Tyler and everyone that handled it in the back. Super smooth show. It was a lot of fun being up here. Robert, first time hosting. Again, just an all-around great show, and was a pleasure to be out here again.
For sure. It was a great show. I could not have asked for a better one. Kick off the entire school year. Goose, you'll be here next week. Kendell and Zach, great answers all around. I expect y'all to be back here in a couple of weeks or at the next show if spots are still open. Please come. Please get on this show. But congrats to you again. And that will wrap things up for us here tonight at TSTV. Thank you to everyone who makes this show possible, from the contestants to the in-studio personnel, all the people in Master Control, especially our executive producer, Tyler Moss, and to you, the audience who came here tonight. Thank you very much. Remember to tune into other shows this week, like the Want to Know Sports Show on Friday and College Press Box on Monday. That wraps it up tonight. I'm your host, Robert Gonsoulin, and have a great night.